It's Thomas Mulready from Cool Cleveland. We're here in Chicago at AXPONA 2024, and we're here with the one, the only, the legend, Michael Fremer.
Yeah, the last time we did this last year, you said that, and someone said, "Yeah, Fremer, legend in his own mind," and that is the opposite of who I am. Absolutely the opposite. And then they also said for you to stop moving around so much, but that's your gig, so do it. Move around, it's fine. Get all my bad angles. Get them all at once. Catch all the bad ones.
Follow me as we do this.
Okay,
Follow me.
I'm following
There
you.
we go.
Okay, I'll get this here for a while. Okay.
I have I did not prepare for this interview, so I was hoping you had some interesting topics we could discuss.
Well, I've been doing this like 30 years or 40 years now or something, and you come to these shows, and what's the most interesting thing is when people say, "Oh, but the old guys are dying off and the business is going to be over." But no, there are young people taking over the jobs of the old people, because the people still love this hobby. They love this subject.
Yes.
They love music. And they love vinyl now, so that's another great thing. It's the vinyl resurgence is real. It's not like, oh, it's going to die, it's gone. But, record sales were up like 23% last year, so it's continuing, and it stokes interest in every other part of this hobby of speakers, better amplifiers, better cartridges, and everything's improving. The technology that's going into making these products, and also pressing plants. New pressing plants have opened with better presses, and we're learning how to master records better and how to press records better. So, and people say, well, all the recordings are digital, so that's the end of that. It doesn't matter whether it's a digital recording. If you take a high-resolution digital file and make a record out of it, it's like people want to do things. All recordings are fake. Let's face it, all recordings are fake. And so you make a recording and you do it in the digital domain, and you're putting plugins in, and you're adding EQ and putting a little compression. Not too much compression, hopefully. Not squashing it to death. There's too much of that. And then you're finished. Okay, but maybe then you take that and you cut a lacquer from it and make a record out of it, and that's another plugin. But that becomes an analog plugin, and that changes the sound, yes. And maybe it makes it more pleasing. Maybe it makes it better. Oh, it adds distortion. Everything's distortion. Tubes add more distortion than solid state, but people will spend a lot of money now for a Neumann tube microphone, whereas a couple of years ago they just gave them away, but until they realized that there's a quality to those microphones that makes Frank Sinatra sound like Frank Sinatra, that, yeah, I want those old microphones. So you could buy them for like $500 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Now it's $35,000 for the same microphone. Why? There's a thing about it that people want. So there's a thing about a record. I don't even know what it is. I don't care if it's distortion. Who cares? You get the record of what was a file and play it, and now it's more listenable. Now maybe it's masking some crappy things about the recording. Who knows? Who cares?
And it's young people driving the vinyl revolution, right? They're driving the headphone revolution.
Yes.
Talk about the age, and you're here year after year, and you are starting to see different people. Are you starting to see some younger entrepreneurs building products, coming in with new businesses?
Yeah, right now records, the sweet spot in the record business is the 40-year-olds. Like, Chad Kassem. Chad, man, he put out, he's got the 75th anniversary series, man, and he put out Stone Temple Pilots. He says, I don't know that music, but I tried to do it. It's on Atlantic, so I did it. It's sold out.
Yeah.
He's repressing it now.
Yeah.
So that generation is now hot into this.
We talked about nostalgia. I was just on a cruise where our band played, actually. I'll tell you all about it, but we realize the power, the almost drug that nostalgia has in a good way, where it taps you into a period when you were young and vital and exciting and changes were happening in your life. And to have that music again at this age, it's like a fountain of youth.
Yes.
It's a real thing. And so people in their 40s are experiencing this from 20 years before.
Or 50s, like bands like Stone Temple Pilots, they were out in the mid-90s. So they're 50 years old now, which is scary, It's really scary. So that's why, the guys from The Who are like 80, whatever. So now all of a sudden you're 50 years old. You were 20, now you're 50.
Yeah.
Boom. And so to go back to those records and hear them like you never heard them before, it's a great thing.
Right.
And that's what's happening.
Yeah, and vinyl is driven by this. There's so much. Headphones is the revolution, and for what you can get with headphones, a couple $1,000, you can have a pretty state-of-the-art system, right?
Yeah, you can have it and not bother your neighbors or your parents or whatever. They won't break a record over your head like my father did to me. He broke a record over my head.
No.
I was in college. Some people have heard this story already because it's very traumatic. Yeah, I was listening to the Modern Jazz Quartet. It wasn't like the Rolling Stones. And I was in my bedroom. I had the Modern Jazz Quartet on, and my father called me, and I didn't hear him. God forbid. So instead of opening the door and saying, "Hey, I'm calling you. What are you doing?" He came in, took that goddamn record, banged it over my head. A vinyl record is not easy to break over someone's head. It's flexible, but he broke it, and it was a 2-record set. But luckily, the MJQ released that record as 2 separate records, Volume 1 and Volume 2. So all I had to do was buy Volume 1 over again, and I had both of those records.
Did you get the remastered version or an original press?
Original. This is not. They didn't have remasters at that point. This is 1960, whatever.
Talk about your past, because I don't know that people know that you actually did comedy for a while. You MTV, you were in media. There's a photo of you with a David Bowie press conference.
Yes. So I opened for the Jam. I opened for television. I opened for Root Boy Slim and the Sex Change Band. That was not a good show, but the Jam was good. Television was good. Opening, because I liked playing music clubs rather than comedy clubs. Because if you go into fluffies or wordies or funnies, whatever it is, who's the audience? Oh, they want to laugh. Well, I don't know who they are though. But if I go in and open for television and everybody's wearing black and they're like bohemian, I know what they're gonna like to hear. What kind of comedy they're gonna want, and I give them that. Open for the Jam, it's gonna be punchy, kind of like. So I know. Root Boy Slim, I didn't know. It wasn't. That was not good. All they kept doing, this very famous Albert Brooks routine where he'd open for Richie Havens, and he didn't like opening for bands, and he said, "I'm out there," and they're going, "Richie, Richie, Richie," and I couldn't get a word in edgewise. And I'm thinking, that's not bad, because I had to do root. It was not good. Yeah, so I was on MTV once. We did a piece about analog versus digital. You can find that on YouTube, analog versus digital. And they said to me, all right, we want you to talk about what it is about records that are better than CDs, and so I talked about it. And then the piece came out. So it was me, Peter Gabriel, Neil Young. It was me, Peter Gabriel, and Neil Young. It was like, oh, I had no idea. And Dave Mustaine, Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine goes, if you like analog, it's because you can't play your instruments. Because analog covers up all your problems. Oh, yeah. Peter Gabriel, Neil Young, yeah. He can't play his instrument. It was so great.
And they prove it still on tour out there every day, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So I was doing that. And I was on the radio. I was a disc jockey on the radio. No, not a disc jockey. I was an on-air personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're still an on-air personality, honestly. You really are, right? That's YouTube now, but it's the same.
It's good. And all the, I never got into writing about hi-fi to like, have people asking for my autograph. It's hi-fi, and I don't care. I don't care if you're on YouTube. I know a lot of people on YouTube that are here. I don't know what it is, but I have to give people my autograph. I don't, sign my record. Yeah, but it's a Cal Jada record. It's it's not my record. It's not even a record that I released, because I released a record. Right.
And tell me about this photo of you. It's like a headshot. Was this in your comedian years, or?
You want to see it?
No, I'll pull it up.
Oh yeah. Okay. So what happened? This is in 1983. If you lived in Los Angeles, you could be a car mechanic. You had a headshot. Everybody had a headshot. Everybody was not really a waitress or a waiter. Everybody was really writing a script. You had to, just to keep your sanity. And I was doing that because I had finished at that point. I'd finished Animal Olympics, which you can now watch on Amazon Prime. It's on there.
Okay.
It's good. You'll see all the voices I did, and people like it. And now people are showing it to their grandchildren. The comments are whatever. If you're a young person watching this, you better do something that's important in your 20s, because then in your 40s and 50s, it'll come back to you. Not like acid reflux. It'll come back to you in a really positive way. Right. And that pays dividends you cannot believe until it happens to you. So, this movie that I worked on got on Amazon Prime, and all the comments under it are like, I grew up with that. I loved that movie, and now I show it to my grandchildren, and they love it. And some guy sent me a letter, and he said, my daughter is 7 years old, and she's a big fan of yours. Can you please autograph this piece of paper? And, I can't even tell you how cool that is. Yeah. So whatever you're doing now, make it something that's important. Then in 20 years, it'll be more important.
Great advice for anyone at any age, but as you say, do it early, and it'll come back. You also, I saw a photo of you. Were you a car mechanic or something? It looks like there's a carburetor in this shot.
Yes. So after I finished Animal Olympics, I had like 6 months between Animal Olympics and starting the Tron soundtrack. So what was I going to do for those 6 months? So I did get a headshot made, because you have to have a headshot. And then I said, I'm going to work for my car mechanic and learn how to fix my own car, because I like that idea. So I went to work for my Sobnik. That's probably why my girlfriend left me, because she was working. She'll watch this and she'll get so pissed off. So she was at A&M Records and had this great job, and she's on the lot, and so she's hanging out with Sting and Joni Mitchell and all these people. And then when the day was over, she'd come back down to Venice where we lived. And when I was working on Animal Olympics, it was cool. I was working on this movie. The Graham Gouldman did the music, and all these animators. Brad Bird, who did Iron Giant, he was working on Animal Olympics, and Bill Croyer and all these other people. So it was a cool thing. Then she'd start coming home from the lot where she was working with all these famous people, and I would be smelling like hydraulic fluid and grease and had this mechanics thing on. And she's starting to think, what am I doing with this guy? That's my thought about why we broke up. It was probably other things. I was probably inadequate in other areas, but I don't know. She hasn't talked about that with me. No. We still talk. But anyway.
You just recently made the move back to the Absolute Sound, where I think you started, right? But it all comes full circle for you.
Yeah, so I'm back at the Absolute Sound, and I have the trackingangle.com website, which is doing great. I got 21 people writing for me, which is fantastic.
I thought you were going to say 21 subscribers now you're up to, but no, you've got a lot of subscribers.
22. We don't have subscribers. It's just we keep tabs on what content is and who's watching and who's going there. And no, the traffic's good. Traffic's really good. And
this is where the business is these days, right? This is exactly where it is.
Yes, and also the people that are there are very involved. You know what I mean? They're not like the comments are really smart, and the feedback is great, and you learn things from your readers. That's the whole point of this. Like I bought the original Who's Next on Decca Records when it came out, and it never sounded any good. And then I started reading. Oh, but there were two versions of the original. There's an East Coast version that you have that's no good, and then there's a West Coast version that Doug Sachs from the Mastering Lab cut, but his thing isn't in it, the TML isn't in it, but he cut that one. And I realized I had one of those, but it was a second pressing, so I always put that in the secondary position, and I never played it. And I took it out, and it sounded way better than what I thought was the original. I had the British original, which was great, but the British original, one side of that was cut by Doug Sachs and sent over to Europe. The whole thing is, this is like 50 years later, I learned about something I thought I knew a lot about.
From one of your readers.
That's right, from more than one who said, don't you know? Are you stupid? Don't you know? No, I didn't know, sorry. I didn't know. You don't know everything,
It is amazing. And isn't that what's great about AXPONA as well? You're running into real people in the flesh here. It was so terrible over the past few years with the pandemic, but it's back, and the people are back, and it seems like the industry is back. Is that what you're saying?
Look, the industry we need a pandemic for our industry. The more people, not dead people, but the more that people were staying at home and weren't going out to work and were staying at home, the more they needed something to do. So everybody's business went up, and record sales went up too because you were home. So now things are down a little bit, but it's not like, it's all over now. No, it's not that it's all over. It's that things have dropped down because all the buying went on in that period of time. And now people are still buying, This show is very, very well attended, and people are excited. And there's all kinds of great things happening in every aspect of it, and in the loudspeaker business, in the turntable business, in the cartridge business, in the amplifier business, streaming. I'm all for streaming. I get up in the morning, first thing I do is stream. And then, okay, that's a bad joke. That's a rim shot. It's a bad joke. It's like I was telling you the other joke, but old is when you forget to zip up your fly, and really old is when you forget to zip it down. Okay, so.
I think we're going to leave it at that because we already have about a 3 or 4 part.
You're ending with a pee joke? I mean, is that really a good idea? Okay, fine. That's fine. Okay.
We could talk all day, but you have to talk to some other people.
Yes, I know that. I hear the people that don't like me. I hear them in my ear. They go, you say we could talk all day. Yeah, from it's like I once did an event in Germany for Nagra, and the question was, tell us about yourself. So I did, because that's what he asked me to do. And then comes, all Fremer does is talk about himself. Well, yeah, because that's what they asked me to do. They didn't ask me to talk about you, whoever you are. But if they had asked me to talk about you, I would have called you up or emailed you and said, tell me about you. And then I would have gotten on the camera, and I would have talked about you. But okay, that's enough.
People just don't understand how this works, do they?
I've dug myself in deep enough, and now I'm going to get out.
You are still, Addy, you are such an inspiration, and you are friends with so many people. You have a huge heart. You are the warmest, most friendly, nicest person, smartest guy out there because you are learning from everyone. You're humble.
Sam, Don't say I'm the ist. Say I'm one of them. You don't say, because I don't like superlatives like that. And you know, so when people say, "Oh, you're full of yourself and you're snobby," I am the opposite of. I am not snobby. If I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm self-assured and I get on a camera and talk to you, you should get that way too. Don't be jealous that I'm that way. You should get that way, because I went for years. Like when I go to a news conference and you raise your hand to, I was so nervous. I was afraid they would call on me, and then they'd call me and I go, it took me like a decade to get. I'm not naturally, now I've become naturally ebullient, but I went for years not being able to, and that's getting out of your comfort zone. If your comfort zone is being a nervous wreck and being afraid of your own shadow, yeah, get out of that. Become uncomfortable. Get out there, ask the question, and get past that. See the people like in the TED thing, they get out on front on a stage and they talk to people, and they know how to do it. And if you're afraid of that, figure out how to do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. If Joel Osteen can get up there in front of the congregation and smile at you and tell you all about what the Bible says in such terms that you love to hear him talk, and he can have a big house and a big congregation and all that he has just by having the smile. His smile is like he's got the denture thing in the mouth to keep it open, and everything is great. That's all you have to do, and anybody will follow you.
Just need to practice, get out there and do it, and have something to say, by the way. Learn your stuff. You're a master at this. I don't know if it's 10,000 hours or what it is, but once you're a master, then yeah, go out there and talk about it and listen to other people and always learn at whatever age you are, right? That's what you're doing.
Listening and learning is something I didn't do for a long time because I was so nervous and so feeling inadequate that I would go, yeah, okay, now let me say, okay, I still talk a lot, but I try to listen more. That was the art of listening is so critical to people liking you also,
right. And by the way, it's critical in this business of audio to listen as well, and to train your ears to what to listen for and how to listen.
And now you know what the comment's going to be. Your ears must be bad. You're old now. I want a hearing test. And I don't hide the fact that my hearing is not as good as when I was 20 years old. It's not. But my listening, my experience makes up for whatever loss. I mean, I'm not like going deaf. But my hearing is not as good as it was 20, 30 years ago. But it's still, I know I have an 18-year-old kid writing for me who's got the most amazing ears. And so we get the same record and we compare notes. And so far, it's good. Right. When it gets to the point where he says, "You heard what?" That's not what it sounds like. Then I'll retire. Right. But I'm not there yet.
There are changes. We talked to Steve Guttenberg yesterday about this very topic. Yeah. And he had some interesting comments on what older ears really do and don't do, and our assumptions about that, and we need to rethink that. It's a topic I want to come back to as well, because so many people in this business whose ears we rely on are getting older and older, and we are making purchase decisions for hundreds of thousands of dollars based on their ears.
That's right, plus the mastering. Bernie Grundman's not a spring chicken. Well, who is a spring chicken except for a spring chicken? He's an older guy, but he's still mastering great records. Bob Ludwig retired, not because he thought his hearing wasn't any good. He just wanted to retire. So, there are younger mastering. Ryan Smith, is younger. Ryan Smith is like 50, I think. He's not like a spring chicken, but he's not 20, but he's not 80, he's not 75. But the guys that know what they're doing, for some reason, no, it's not for some reason. They know what they're hearing is a combination of the ear and the brain. It's not all the ear. It's both. There's a guy who comes to this show who's deaf and listens through his fingers. Do you know about that guy? I interviewed him once. He has a ball, and he puts the ball in front of him, and he feels the vibrations of the music going into the ball, and it goes into his ear, and he can hear cable differences with that. Oh, sure he can. There are no cable differences. That's an exact example why it's baloney, because if a guy who's deaf can hear a difference, okay, but he can. And that ball is how his energy is transferred, the sense into that ball. It's amazing.
It's real. I'm a drummer, and we use what's called a butt kicker on our stool because we can't hear the low end in our small in-ear monitors, but you feel it. It fills out like a subwoofer might, It's real.
And I'm married, and I know exactly what it is to get your butt kicked every day, each and every day. Okay.
You are so generous to spend some time with us, Michael. You're the best, one of the best. Okay, let's put it that way.
You're good. You're good. That's good.
Thank you for taking a few moments. We'll see you out at the show.
You will. Okay. Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from Cool Cleveland. We are here at AXPONA 2024.